Hello and welcome to Bread of Life, a daily devotional program which each week features a different area pastor. Our speaker for this week is Pastor Andre Riendeau of Bloomfield.
Hello, friends. I'm happy to be with you through radio and the sovereignty of God. This week, I'd like to talk with you about a topic that I think affects all of us at some level: forgiveness. Now, there's no way we'll be able to cover every aspect of forgiveness this week, but I would like to consider what I'd call the heart of forgiveness. And to kick the week off, I'd like to begin by sharing a story that illustrates just how hard forgiveness really is. It's a true story from a blog by a man named Clint Archer. He writes, quote, "In the early hours of Friday, January 1st, 1982, the 17-year-old Kevin Tunnell made the biggest mistake of his life. At a New Year's party near Washington, D.C., he got very drunk. His friends urged him not to drive, but he insisted, 'Oh, nothing will happen to me.' On the road, he lost control of the wheel, and he smashed into another car, instantly killing 18-year-old Susan Herzog. After pleading guilty to involuntary manslaughter and drunk driving, Tunnell was sentenced to 3 years of probation and 1 year of community service. Susan's parents, understandably, did not feel that was sufficient punishment. So they sued Tunnell in civil court for emotional distress for $1.5 million. Then, quite unexpectedly, after meeting Kevin, Susan's parents offered to settle out of court, but the terms of the ruling included a very bizarre condition: a payment, not for $1.5 million, but for $936. The settlement required that Kevin pay the $936 by sending them a check for $1 made out to the deceased Susan Herzog every Friday for the next 18 years, one for every year Susan had been alive. Now, at first, the penalty seemed like he'd been let off easy, but soon the burden of guilt proved too much for Kevin to bear. He tried to present the Herzogs with 2 boxes of pre-written checks, dated each week through 2001, a year longer than required. The couple refused to accept them. After 7 years of the weekly purgatorial ritual of writing this $1 check, Kevin began to miss a few payments, and the Herzogs promptly dragged him back into court. Giving an account before Judge Jack Stevens, a teary Tunnell admitted that the agonizing guilt he felt each time he filled in Susan's name had become unbearable. He said to the judge, quote, "You get to a point where you kind of snap, and you say, 'It hurts too much.' I used to lay in bed, and if I heard noises, I used to think Susan was going to come visit me." End quote. The judge sentenced Kevin to 30 days in jail for the missed payments. In his book, In the Grip of Grace, Max Lucado makes this comment on the story I just shared. Lucado says, "Few would question the anger of this family. Only the naive would think it fair to leave the guilty under or unpunished. But I do have one concern. Is 936 payments enough? I'm not saying is it enough for him to send, but is it enough for the family to demand? In other words, when they receive the final payment, will they be at peace? Is 18 years restitution sufficient? Will 196 months' worth of remorse be adequate? How much is enough? Were you in the family and were Tunnell your target, how many payments would you require? Better stated, in your relationships, when people harm you, how many payments do you require?" Wow, that's a good question. How much justice do I require before I'll forgive someone? We all demand some kind of payment. How much is enough? We'll talk more about that tomorrow.
You've been listening to Pastor Andre Riendeau of Bloomfield, and this has been Bread of Life, a program to encourage you from God's Word.